Right, hello everybody, and welcome back to 40 Runs Running Club TV and our series Beneath the Bib, where literally we do go beneath the bib of one of our runners within the community to hear all about them and what got them into running, how they found the community, and everything else that makes them tick. The idea being that we find someone that, even though everyone thinks they may know a lot about them, we find that little extra thing, that little bit of spice. And this show today is in conjunction with Long Run Show, because the guest who I'm about to speak to actually has a connection with Long Run Show, because it was announced on the Long Run podcast, a very, very special prize. And we're going to get into that a little bit later on. But let's get started. Let's get kicked off as I introduce our special guest tonight. And I'm going to have to be careful, because if I don't ask the right questions, next time she sees me, she may kick my ass, because believe me, this girl is badass. We welcome tonight to Beneath the Bib. Welcome, Laura Copeland. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Not too bad. Nervous though.
Why are you nervous? You've seen this. You've seen Beneath the Bib. I know you have. You watch a few of them because you comment on them, so you know what it's all about. You've got nothing to be nervous about.
I know. I don't know. That's just me. No, but I've loved the series so far, and it's great. Like hearing about people, and particularly, especially those who you don't come across as much. So yeah.
It's good. That was the whole idea of it. And even the big characters that we've seen on here that you think you know about, and you hear something else, you think, oh, even myself, when I speak to people, I purposely try not to, as an interviewer, I suppose, you're supposed to research a person, look into them. Whereas some bits and pieces I know, I prefer not to know too much, because I like to be shocked as well. I like to think, oh, wow, never knew that. That's a little bit of spice. Yeah, brilliant. I've got a feeling we're going to have a lot of that coming up tonight. So let's get started, because we've got so much to talk about tonight. We are literally talking about Muay Thai, we're talking about sobriety, we're talking about running, we're talking about run clubs, winning a place at the London Marathon, the London Satellite Club. We have got loads to talk about, and we're going to get started as we usually do Beneath the Bib. Let's hear a little bit about Laura, a young Laura growing up, going to school, the teenage years, up until about, let's go up until about 16, 17, until life really gives you that bit of a kick. Tell us a bit about yourself, Laura.
Yeah, so kind of guess normal childhood. Went to primary school, went into secondary school. I wasn't really into sports. I mean, growing up, my mum had put me into ballet and then karate, things like that. But I weren't really, the sporty type. Hated it running for a bus, let alone doing what I do now. So I was kind of in school. I was well behaved, but if I could,
why are you saying that like we should all be shocked about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, in my later years, I wasn't well behaved. So, yeah, it's like I was well behaved, but if I could get asked doing certain things at school, I would. So for like cooking classes, I'd most weeks forget my ingredients, so I didn't have to do that. I'd forget my PE kit, so I wouldn't have to do that, and all sorts of things. School for me, yeah, it was a weird one. Sometimes I enjoyed it, sometimes I didn't. I think I used it, I didn't do too bad, but I used it as a bit of fun more than anything. Like even doing my GCSEs, I took music without being able to play an instrument, which is kind of necessary. So I kind of forced my mum into buying me a bass guitar and had to try and fluke my way through this GCSE. Obviously failed big time. But yeah, I just didn't want to be there sometimes. So just tried to make the most fun out of it.
And I think without being, I suppose people could say the same about me, without being rude, disrespectful, from the accent, I can tell. Where are we talking about? Are we talking about London here?
Yeah, so I was born up in the East End of London.
Of course.
Not a true Cockney. No. So my parents are. I was kind of born a bit far away from the sound of Bow Bells. So obviously, you're a true Cockney if you're within the sound of Bow Bells. So I sometimes tell people I'm a Cockney. People kind of have a joke and say my hearing is very good and I have big ears. So I think I can get away with it.
No stereotypes here at all, obviously. Right, so we've gone to school. School was okay. It's an ends to mean to an end, and you went by. So after school, where are we talking? Are we going uni or are we going straight into work?
So From school, I went into college. I studied photography for 2 years, did a BTEC. Then I went into work. So my first ever job was for a media company. So I do a lot of live transcription for like the BBC, Sky News, all that sort. So just very office based. Then I done that for a few years. I started part-time, went to full-time. And then I did go to uni and study journalism. I went up to Preston, so Lancashire. But I was only there for, I didn't even finish the first year, to be honest. I got wrapped too much up in the partying and things like that. So I don't think I was kind of ready to take it seriously. And bear in mind, when I did start, I was already a mature student, probably not in here, but I was like 21 when I started. So I was still older than a lot of the sort of freshers coming through as well. But yeah, I didn't finish that. Then kind of work-wise, I've done so many different things. So I've taught English. I used to live out in Spain. I taught English out there and in Peru. I was out there for a while. Then a lot of my work was around hospitality. So for I think 5, 6, 7 years, I worked in pub management. And I only stopped that maybe just over 3 years ago. And now I work in substance misuse services. So supporting people with alcohol or drug problems, getting them to rehab, facilitating a lot of groups, psychosocial intervention stuff. So it's kind of one extreme to the other almost.
Yeah, pretty hardcore and pretty full on as well. Almost as well. So without giving away a bit of your story, almost you're almost giving back a little bit as well now, because we're circled back to uni, because I have listened to a podcast that you've done previously with the rugby one with Joe Marlowe. And so I do know a bit about his story. So give us a bit of background, a bit of story about the tougher times you face in life, particularly obviously after university and then going into the pub management world. Tell us a bit about that and what happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, looking back, kind of my drinking was always very different to my friends and people I know. It was pretty much constant and kind of, I'd always be, say, the first one sort of in the pub and always the last one standing sort of thing. So it became a big joke amongst my friends, kind of I could outdrink everyone and things like that. While it was different, there were periods where it was normal. So I think that's why it kind of took me a while to see there was an issue coming on. And working in the pubs, I feel like it escalated that quite a lot. I was surrounded by drink, surrounded by people doing drugs. And especially when I started in management, that's when it really escalated. I guess when you're in management, no one can really tell you what to do. So, you know, even when I'd get to the pub for 9 a.m., sort of the opening shift and all that, sort of I'd drink from the open of the shift until 1 a.m. the next morning when we closed. And it's insane how I was able to do the job like that. Sort of, I had a lot of pubs. I worked with a lot of pubs within this particular company, within this particular chain. And it's crazy how I had no issues with them. And they'd all given me blinding references and recommending me to other pubs because of the work I put in. And it's just insane. But yeah, kind of, I guess through the drinking, and I love traveling as well. So a big part of that was through the drinking, I realized that eventually I was putting myself in a lot of danger. I've experienced a lot of things that, you know, no one should go through. A lot of abuse, I guess, and physical trauma. And while I'm not blaming myself, you know, people shouldn't be doing these things to other people. A big part of it is sort of, you know, I can sit back and take accountability now, or responsibility that, you know, I was putting myself in certain situations. And especially when sort of drugs start getting involved. I mean, alcohol was my first sort of addiction, but when there was alcohol, there were also drugs. So once I started dabbling in that, I guess that's when I started getting into really bad relationships, not necessarily romantic, but meeting wrong people. And
Yeah.
you know, I was very naive. I had low self-esteem, so kind of a lot of the attention that these people were giving me, I kind of took it as a positive, when in fact it was nothing like
Well,
that.
you're vulnerable, aren't you? You're going through a stage of your life that's tough as hell, and addiction in whatever form it may be is not nice. Whether that be gambling, whether that be drink, drugs, whatever it is, even if it's sugar or chocolate, whatever it is. If an
Yeah.
addiction is an addiction, and you have that personality, and yeah, you become vulnerable. So it's completely understandable.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing as well, kind of like what you just said, sort of about addiction's addiction. It's, I've noticed as well since kind of stopping drinking, you know, that can almost transform into other things. So a lot of people, they'll go from stopping drinking or even stopping smoking to like overeating or spending more going shopping. So it's always kind of, it's always there, but it transforms into different things almost.
Yeah, it's always trying to minimize the impact of what it's trying to get the lesser of all evils, I suppose, if any of them are evils. So no, totally
Yeah.
understandable. Difficult. So and we are talking here. We're not just saying like you used to like a drink. Yeah, you used to sneak a drink and you'd be a little bit drunk and that. We are talking you're pretty full in, weren't you? Here.
Yeah. So there came points where, you know, waking up in the morning, I would be pouring vodka in my cereal.
Wow.
I, you know, vodka in my cereal. Before I get into work and start my shift, I down like 2 bottles of wine before actually starting, within like a 10-minute period. And
God,
it was,
I'd be on the floor. I'd be literally completely out of it by then. Jesus.
yes, I think, yeah, it's, looking back now, it's just incredible how I wasn't on the floor. And I just think it highlights how much I was wrapped up in it and how much it had control over me. Because that's what I needed to function. If I didn't have that, I'd be shaking, I'd be sweating, I'd be vomiting. You know, so it,
What sort of period are we talking over here? So almost like from when you realised this was bad till the point where we start getting help. What sort of period are we looking at?
so just before COVID, I was in Colombia. I was backpacking through Central and South America, and right before COVID hit and I had to leave to come back to the UK, that's when things started progressing even further. I was working in a hostel bar, and one evening, I don't know, still to this day, I don't know exactly what caused it because I was so out of it. But I had to be given CPR. I'd collapsed and gone unresponsive. And other backpackers in the hostel bar had to give me CPR. I was even sent the CCTV of it happening. And it's just insane to think that, you know, without what they did, I probably wouldn't be here.
These are the big wake up moments, aren't they? I guess. Bloody hell.
Yeah, it was the start. But then I probably, yeah, and it's sad, like it was the start, but once I'd come back to the UK, it was almost like I forgot it happened, and the cycle continued. Yeah, so it still took a while after that to really work on it. Like a few a while prior to that, I had an experience. It was during the same trip. I had an experience where I was in Mexico, and because of all the stuff that I was into, the people that I started meeting, and the drugs and things, I was taken off the street into a van, basically kidnapped and kept in a house for 4 or 5 days. And so even that didn't kind of, I guess, help me to see that there's an issue there. So after that, I went straight to Colombia, and then the drinking escalated due to what I'd experienced and as a way to cope. But even those two combined, there was still periods of drinking and using drugs after that.
Wow. There's just so much. You sort of laugh because it's like a nervous laugh sort of thing. There is just so much to take in from that, and so much to unpick. It's absolutely frightening. Honestly, I don't even know where to start. So we're coming back from traveling back to London, and we're talking about COVID now, which probably isn't the ideal situation to jump back into when you think to yourself, maybe I need to change. These things have happened to me have been incredibly eye-opening. So you come back to London and things don't change, don't improve at all?
They improve a little bit. I came back and I got a job in a pub as a supervisor. But 5 days after that, the government announced that the pubs were to close. So in some sense, that helped because I was drinking less because I wasn't in the pub environment.
Sure.
I mean, I was still drinking, but not to the extent that I was if I was working in a pub full time. Then so through a lot of the things that I've experienced, I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. So part of that was me trying to seek therapy and support for it. And a lot of the support systems from the NHS in the community, every referral that was made for me was rejected because they didn't feel it was safe enough for me to take part in therapy in the community. I was self-harming a lot. And there've been like suicide attempts. So it was rejection after rejection. And they said to me, like, the only final kind of thing that we can try is an inpatient program. So I was referred to a hospital in Surrey, quite near Richmond, actually. And they accepted my referral. It was such an intense program. I stayed there full time as an inpatient for 9 months. Then once I'd completed that, I had a 2 years outpatient program, which I think I finished either last year or the year before. During my inpatient stay, within the first month, they found out I was drinking. I started going into withdrawals. I started hallucinating. I started just becoming really unwell. So that's when they decided to send me off to a medical detox. So that's where kind of you go as an inpatient and you're given lots of medication to, support your health, prevent you from having seizures and things. Because if someone goes cold turkey from alcohol and they're drinking to the levels that I was, it can be fatal. You can die. I mean, as I nearly found out in Colombia, even though I was still drinking, but that's what can happen. So they said to me, we're not sure if we can deal with this. So part of me trying to get my act together was, okay, I've really screwed this. I've wanted support for so long, and now potentially I've ruined this chance. So that is kind of why I managed to stay sober this time around, because I knew that if I started drinking again,
Last chance.
I'd lose the opportunity of help. And when I did go back, I'd have random breathalyzer and drug tests, and they wanted to make sure, you know, I was sticking to it and things like that. So I was always under the watchful eye of the staff there.
But ultimately, obviously, we're coming to it. Ultimately, it's worked, and you're in the position you are today, which is, after hearing the journey you've been on and what you've done, it is almost a miracle. It's wow. It is extremely powerful. Let's talk a little bit about the running side of things. So where does running fit into? Does running fit into the sobriety? Is that a trigger? Is that a help point? How does running help you with what you faced in your past life?
So I mean, I started running a couple of times. I remember the first time I started, it wasn't to help with the sobriety. It was generally to lose weight. I mean, there was a point where I weighed nearly 18 stone. So it was to lose weight. And I remember I bought a treadmill. I wouldn't run outside because I was terrified that people were going to look at me and call me names and laugh at me and things. That was during lockdown. But that didn't last for too long. Then I started running again while I was actually in hospital, receiving therapy. And that's when it started to really click. Like, I'm very, I guess, I had a lot of anger, and I found it was one of the ways where I could channel that instead of perhaps self-harming or drinking, things like that. That allowed me to create space for myself to kind of not necessarily get rid of the feelings, but do something positive with them.
Yeah.
So I think since then, sport in general has really helped me. Although I do have to be careful at times. I think sometimes there's that potential for the addictive personality to creep back in. I've had a couple of conversations with people about it, and sort of there is some obsessiveness sometimes with the amount I run or the amount I train Muay Thai and pair them together. And it's, you know, some days I'd be in the gym for 4 or 5 hours. And so while it's positive overall, I do need to be careful, because sometimes I don't even realize that it's creeping in like that.
It's like we spoke at the start, as you said, that addiction, when you have that addictive personality, which, to be honest, I think, for all honest, we all have it to an extent. It's just the vices that we choose to be addicted to. Even like we talk about Fordy as well, and where he hasn't had the addiction, he does have, for his autism and that, he has the OCD. So he's telling one thing to do at the gym or something like that, and he starts to work, and he would just go and be the first one to say it to you. It's just a mindset, it's just the way it works. And sometimes there's a positive outcome, because it can make you maybe a better runner, maybe a better fighter. But as you said, you do need to at times evaluate, sit back and think, is this the right thing that I'm doing? Obviously, it's working really great for you. Is that how you start running? How do you find 40 runs?
I'm not sure. I have a feeling it was from one of Fordy's shoe reviews.
Right.
I come across one of them, and then I think I kind of just tapped in the name in Facebook, and then come across the Facebook group. I was like, oh, let me join and see what's up. I think it came from there, because I'd gone and run with another group prior to that, and basically they told me, oh, you're not these same words, but the message was, you're too slow, don't come back.
I hear it all the time.
I was like, oh, great, thanks. So I remember,
and again, sorry to interrupt you. Do you know what, as man, you make such a good point with that, because they don't know you as a person, they don't know what you've been through, and a trigger point like that from something so just uninclusive, this just most horrible thing we hear all the time when it comes to running. Someone's saying to you, do you know what, maybe you should look around for another club, maybe you're not slow, you're a bit slow, but fast off. That, again, really, it didn't, because you're getting yourself help. That could have made you spiral, and that could have had really bad effects. So fair play to you for not letting that do it. And people got to realize this. Things you say and actions you take could have massive implications on other people's lives. So luckily for you, it didn't have that implication, because you're at a better point in your life, and you're with 40 runs now. So what we're doing with 40 runs, we attending races, we finding friends.
Yeah, so all sorts of things. Sort of, you know, I was welcomed to the London satellite with open arms. And I remember messaging in the Facebook chat before I attended my first run with them, kind of, oh, like about paces, am I going to be too slow? And, you know, so all those worries were wiped clean. Yeah, so since I started attending races, been to a couple of trips abroad. So I've been to Benidorm, Lanzarote. I'm hoping to do the same again this year. And even making friends as well. Kind of, that was something that I didn't have for many years. I was very lonely. You know, through a lot of my behaviors and actions, I pushed everyone away from me to the point I had no one around me. So to actually finally make friends that are genuine and really healthy for me is great. And, you know, it even goes beyond running. You know, I forgot how to communicate with people, and, you know, little skills that I think a lot of us take for granted, just talking to people and things like that. It's helped with so much more than running. You know, and since joining, my running's come on so much. Yeah, and I'm just grateful to be in the community. It's such a fabulous group of people, and yeah, I'm loving it.
Brilliant. Absolutely love hearing stories like this. It's absolutely fantastic. Let's talk a little bit about the London Marathon. So you're part of the club, you're affiliated, so you go into the draw for the London Marathon plays. We have the Long Run Show podcast, and you get pulled out, and suddenly, what, 3 months or 4 months notice, you're running the London Marathon. Tell us about that, because I know you wasn't watching live at the time, was you? So you had people phoning you. Tell us how that felt when you heard that news.
Yeah, so it was one evening, sort of a couple of comments in our satellite chat going, Laura, and Nen as well. I'm like, what happened? What? So I'd forgot it was Long Run Show night. And then I think Jojo, was like, oh, you're running London. I think you saw my sort of response as well. It was, I can't even remember what I said, but yeah, I was in shock. Because I thought it was one of those things that I'd never be able to run. Like, even as a non-runner, I was weirdly applying to run it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was insane. And at that time, I was going through like a 3-month period where I wasn't able to run due to my health. So I think it was almost, you know, it gave me a bit of a boost as to, you know, a bit of positive news to keep pushing to the point where I could get back to run again. I'm so excited.
I was going to be our next question. How excited are you about this? Because all of us are like it, especially the first London ever. It's there on the back of your mind, isn't it? You keep thinking it's 8 weeks away, it's 7 weeks away, it's 6 weeks. It's just there. Everything you do, you're thinking about it. It's a massive thing. Massive.
Yeah, I'm so excited. And when I was little, even though I weren't kind of, you know, massively into sport, every year my dad would take me to watch it. So I can really vividly remember kind of standing along the sidelines with him and watching, and I'd be in awe at these people like managing to run like this distance and this fast and all this. So to think now that, you know, he can come and watch me actually run it is insane.
Wow, that is brilliant.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be even more special for me as well, because not on that exact date, but 5 days before, I'll be like sort of celebrating my 3 years of sobriety as well. So I feel like it's such an amazing, I guess, gift.
Gift, I suppose, in some, what we heard tonight, a gift of life. It's full circle. You've come from being born to going down to deepest steps, nearly losing your life, and coming back and going out there and doing one of the most hardest challenges it probably is on earth, and running a marathon, and at London in your hometown, when with your dad watching. Wow, this is going to be one hell of an event. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm proper excited for you. So this is running. Obviously, your running journey is coming on great. We haven't got long left, but I want to touch on a couple of things. So let's talk about the Muay Thai and the boxing, because we know that plays a big part of your life as well in the sport. And just give us a quick rundown how you got into it, what you're doing with it now, and you're still fighting in competitions as well, aren't you?
Yeah. So I started training maybe over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. My dad was working with my coach. They both worked at a school together, and he'd opened a gym up. He was like, "Oh, go and try this." I'd never heard of the sport, but I went along and just fell in love with it straight away. And again, it was something where, you know, I can channel, you know, whatever's going on for me, and use it positively. Yeah, so I've got a fight coming up next month.
I know, I've seen your opponent, and your opponent scares the shit out of me, let alone how you're going to get in the ring. Jesus.
I'm so nervous. The way I approach Muay Thai is so different to how I approach running. I put so much pressure on myself with the Muay Thai, and I think it's the fact that, especially with the fights, it's, you know, people watching you and you can hear them shouting your opponent's name, and I'm terrified.
I'm not surprised. Honestly, it's also quite, it's a bit more competitive to an extent, because running can always be, you can always be competing against yourself, whereas I suppose with Muay Thai you are competing against another component, so another opponent. So yeah, it's competitive in itself.
I feel like when you get in the ring as well, you've got nowhere to run. You physically can't run away, so it's either, you know, you get hit, they get hit, just stand your ground and try your best.
Although once you cross that start line, London Marathon, you've got nowhere to go apart from the finish line, so you're going to get yourself around there, girl. You're on the course, you're in the ring. London Marathon course is the ring for you, and I can't wait to see this. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Let's just talk a little bit before we finish up about what you're doing now and how you're giving back. What is it you do now as a job, and what's it involved? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm working at a substance misuse charity. My job role is recovery champion. So it's basically a support worker for people with substance use issues. I actually got the job, you know, through my own treatment. It's where I got treatment. So it's kind of a strange turn of events. My line manager used to be my key worker.
Wow.
So I started getting treatment there, started as a volunteer, and then went into this paid role. I facilitate like a lot of groups like Smart Recovery, which is similar to, I'm sure people have heard, Alcoholics Anonymous. All sorts. I help them, you know, so even things that we don't tend to think about with substance misuse, like benefits, housing, education, anything that is going to support them on their journey, I try and help them with. Yeah, so like saying that though, 2 weeks ago I quit. So I'm now kind of seeing out my fixed notice period. So I've got a few weeks left there. So from then, I don't know what I'm going to go into, but I've loved supporting people. So I think whatever I go into next, it's definitely going to be supporting people.
Well, with your life experiences and what you've experienced and what you've done and the strength you've shown and the positivity and your mindset and where you've got yourself to, honestly, whatever you put your mind to, you're going to absolutely smash. I've got absolutely no doubt about that. You are one. We started the show saying you're a bit of a badass and you can kick people's asses, but literally you really are. And honestly, it's testament to yourself, Laura. You should be so proud of where you are right now, sitting here talking to me, being immersed in the community, about to run the London Marathon. Honestly, it's phenomenal. Be absolutely massively proud of yourself and what you've done. And you are absolutely, again, you'll be a role model, a beacon to others. There'll be people that listen to this thinking, do you know what? Maybe I have got a bit of a drink problem. Maybe I have, maybe I'm in that dark place. I tell you what, look what Laura done. Maybe I can get there. Let me get my. Running isn't the answer to everything.
No.
But running can help. Sport can help, and you've shown a lot of that as well. But again, a lot of it is self-determination and self-belief. And hopefully, people listen to this and really take note of what you said today. It's been absolutely amazing talking to you, Laura. Your story is it's just up here. How are people going to unpick this? How on earth am I going to write a description about what we talked about today? It's ridiculous. You months to do. But honestly, once again, Laura, thanks so much for coming on and having a chat with us. It's so appreciated. We're all going to be out there at that cheer station, and we're going to be loud for you, girl. You watch.
I can't wait for the cheer station.
That was absolutely brilliant. Anyway, thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you got something out of that and realised how powerful these stories really are on Beneath the Bib. We thank Laura for joining us and telling her story. And don't forget, next week we will be back with another story from another member of our community. Maybe not as intense as that one, but they've all got a different story to tell. Thanks for watching, guys, and we will catch up with you all very soon. Take care.